The Littlest Airport by Craig Covello. This book is dedicated to my sons Chase and Cameron, and also dedicated to my grandsons JS and Raj. May they all own and fly airplanes someday, just like their grandfather Poppy and great-grandfather Joseph William Covello. Hi, my name is Craig Poppy Covello. I use the name Poppy because that's what my two grandsons JS and Raj call me. I am also a private pilot with my own airplane that takes me to different airports, both big and small. Have you been to an airport before? Let's take a look at some. This is Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, sometimes known as DFW for short. You know it is a big airport because it has lots of big airplanes. The airplanes park next to big buildings called terminals. Each terminal has gates that help passengers and pilots get on planes, which is called boarding, and get off planes, which is called deplaning. DFW has trams that ride on tracks which are high above the ground. They take travelers to different terminal buildings. DFW has lots of runways. How many do you see? DFW has its own air traffic control towers reaching high above the ground, even higher than the trams. DFW has fancy art sculptures. This one, titled Wish, looks like a turkey's wishbone. I am not sure why it's at the airport. Turkeys can't fly. It might be better on a turkey ranch. What do you think? Another airport in London, England, called Heathrow, is also big for most of the same reasons as DFW. Heathrow has lots of big airplanes. Heathrow has big terminals like DFW. Heathrow has trams that take travelers to different terminal buildings, but unlike DFW, Heathrow's tram tracks are under the ground instead of above the ground. Although Heathrow is a big airport, it only has 2 long runways. Do you see them? Heathrow has a very tall control tower. Can you see the steel cables that keep it from tipping over? Of course, Heathrow has a fancy art sculpture which is titled Slipstream. I think I see an airplane in the sculpture, so it makes sense to display this at an airport instead of a turkey ranch. Can you find the airplane? Not all airports are big. Some are small. Let's fly to one today called Tishomingo Airpark. We will be leaving from Gainesville Municipal Airport in Texas, which has an airport code of KGLE. Then we will land at Tishomingo Airport in Oklahoma, which has an airport code of 059. Can you find them on this sectional map? Now that we have done our pre-flight planning, let's take off from KGLE. When we fly over Tishomingo Airpark 059, we can see that it only has 1 runway. That's our first clue that this is a small airport. Okay, we have touched down. So let's taxi and park over here. There are only 2 buildings, but they don't look like terminal buildings. And I don't see any passengers or pilots. That's our second clue that this is a very small airport. And I don't see any trams, but I do see an upside-down wheelbarrow and a riding lawnmower. That's our third clue that this is a very, very small airport. Tishomingo has no control tower, only this windsock that tells the pilots which way the wind is blowing. That's our fourth clue that this is a very, very, very small airport. Big airports have lots of very bright runway lights that guide pilots when landing. But Tishomingo has only these little yellow lights next to the runway. That's our fifth clue that this is a very, 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 very small airport. Wait, is that an art sculpture next to our plane? No, it's just a dead tree. There are no fancy art sculptures here. That must mean that Tishomingo is the littlest airport. But there's another kind of art. Just look at these beautiful flowers next to the runway. I think I see a butterfly. Do you see it? The runways and taxiways at Tishomingo look brand new with bright yellow lines next to freshly cut grass. This little airport is well cared for. So, if Tishomingo is very little, why is it cared for so well? Because little airports are just as important as big airports. And little future pilots are just as important as big pilots.